said enough.
Wow.
I would like to call a meeting to order for the Woodstock Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm the chair, Gordon Wemp. We have here,
Jude Salato,
Marcia Zwilling.
Michael Castiglione.
Martin Mills.
there we go. Okay, we do have a quorum. And we don't have any, the minutes are not ready this week, so we won't be bringing those up. We don't have any hearings scheduled at this time. We do have one decision, but we've had some questions and we may not be voting on that tonight. I see we have some eager faces here, but I'd like to open up for purposes of discussion on the board only. ZBA case number 22-01.
second.
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 Okay. Jude has some points, and Jude, could you?
Right. I just wanted to move to table voting until we can get verification from the building department on the setback, since there was a question.
And that's the 17-foot and the 25-foot setback, because there was a
There was a letter from Mr. Cross.
right.
So, Michelle, if we could maybe get that to the building department and they could verify it, because if we give an 8-foot variance, or even if that's not maybe what the question is right now. Right?
Right, we want to get, we need to get those points nailed down on the exact thing for voting. We can't speak right now about the
I
case.
can forward everything that
You can
process has
forward
sent me.
anything that you like regarding this, Mr. Gailey and Mr. Koch, likewise, to verify that, the setback is what you stated, and we're just gonna double check it. Because we are in the business of crossing Ts, and no, we really can't, we don't have a public hearing on this.
No, I'm the
No.
applicant. I'm not bound by the
Doesn't
public
matter.
hearing.
It doesn't matter. You're the public.
No. I'm the applicant. So I'm not a member of the public.
Well, we don't usually discuss the case once we've closed the public hearing, because if you bring something up, the public has a right to talk back. You can send us information in writing.
I would just like to say two things, if I may. One, the comments in the cross letter. I mean, they have no idea
No,
what the
No,
distance
I don't
is.
think we can, because we can't really take it into, you better put it in writing. Just shoot us a quick email.
Already did put it in writing.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take it into, I don't see there being really an issue right now. The shed is there.
Well, right. Now that's my second point, really. The board could simply grant a variance to allow the shed to remain in its current location. The
We know what we
exact
can do.
distance from the lot
We're well
line.
aware of what we can do, Mr. Gailey. It's just that since the shed is there, we do like to get things right. Because we don't like to get sued. We like to save the town money. So if we do this correctly, I don't think anybody here sitting here is going to be unhappy with the decision necessarily.
Okay.
So, please, we just want to get it right.
Hi.
Okay.
It's not like,
Okay.
you're under duress. We're not,
Understood.
who's talking over here?
I'm just trying to get out of the parking lot. Are you there?
Yeah.
Who's talking?
Laura.
Lori? Turn off your volume, your
Michelle,
Or not, I
microphone.
hear somebody else.
Oh, yeah, sorry, you can't hear this. Hold on a second, please.
Michelle, can you mute her,
I
please?
thought I was on mute.
Can you mute her,
Thank you.
Michelle? Thank you.
Gordon, may I say something?
Yes, you may. That was
So
Marcia, right? Yeah,
it's Marcia. So what's in question is a 4-foot difference, correct?
correct.
So if I wrote it up and my decision will not change whether it's 4 feet or 8 feet, is it that we just need to have it accurate on the decision? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, since it's been brought to our attention, it's best to have that we didn't, if we're giving a variance for an 8-foot and then they come back and say, well, this is 4 foot, they've gone beyond their variance, then there could be further trouble.
But aren't there any county records that state exactly where the property line is?
You know,
Well, it's only done by survey.
can I just interject for a second?
Yes.
Mr. Cross is a licensed surveyor. He's also a longtime resident of the town and the chairman of the planning board. And I think he deserves the courtesy of us verifying the information he sent us.
Yeah.
I'll send all the emails that the Crosses have sent me to the building department tomorrow so they can review all of that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and then we can change it. It's perfectly fine for the board to change numbers we've done before to vote on it. So, you know, if it's verified that it's a shorter distance, we can change those numbers. So it's not, we'll have to start the whole process over again.
No, Ellen can just amend the application and then we can just move forward with the
But we
decision.
do want to get that right. We didn't want to even just put that in that it's the 3.2 that was claimed in a letter. Put anything in writing. We really can't open this up to the floor, okay? Just shoot us a quick email.
I'm going to move to close the public hearing.
Well, the public hearing is closed.
Whatever you opened the discussion, I'm moving to close it.
We're just discussing on the board. The board has opened the case
Okay,
for our discussion.
move to,
So we've laid it out there, what, you know, and if this, I think you understand what we're talking about. So, you know, we'll go through the records. I didn't have time to pour through everything today because we had some other things pending. Plus, we are volunteers and I got slammed with storm stuff this week, so.
I think that we need to make a commitment that by the next board meeting, we will vote on it because.
No, we can't promise anything.
Postpone.
No, we can't promise anything. I'm not going to promise anything. We have 62 days. We're just doing our due diligence. There's no need to make promises. I certainly want to vote tonight, but in light of this information, I don't think it would be prudent to do so. Just
What
we just
about
want to get this
voting
right.
pending confirming the information?
I don't need to do that. We don't need to do that.
you know, nobody is waiting to construct something right now.
Right.
So
There's
we're
nothing
hoping
pending
that
here.
they'll-
It's just peace of mind as far as I can see. So,
This is a surprise to me.
well, it shouldn't be. It was in our documents and it's a good point brought up. We need to verify that, you know, if somebody came and said, yes, then everybody agreed, yeah, it's 3.2 feet and it was confirmed in a letter and then we could amend it tonight. But if he doesn't have accurate information, then we'll just, we'll go with the original. If not, we'll amend it.
So how will Ellen find out what it is? She's not a licensed surveyor.
Well, if he's recorded it with the county, and we'll see if there's any other, if you ever recorded, if there are any other recorded surveys, then we can have those checked.
But it has to be marked in the field. You can't just look at a map.
It is marked in the field.
Can we move on?
Yes, I'm gonna, I move to close case, recess case 22-01. Have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Okay, we'll get this together, guys. Don't sweat it.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks. So with that, I would like to open up case number 21-28 for purpose of discussion. Do I have a second?
Second, which one is that?
That's Shapiro on
Okay,
375. And we're currently, Jude and I have been currently doing some researching on the building allowance. There seems to be some discrepancy about building sizes and congregating large buildings together. So we're just running some of that through council before we vote and make a decision. That's the one with the 1,600 square foot variance on the 2,600 square foot house, where they want to build a 3,500 square foot house behind the 2,600 square foot house. And they're asking for a large variance. But we heard that they were even talking about congregating a studio with an apartment, and it it gets kind of convoluted, and I don't know if that's the intent of the law. So we kind of wanted to look into this before we did anything on this, because we're seeing some.
Can you just
Yeah.
fill me in on the discrepancy? Nothing, I'm familiar from reading the documents, but what is the discrepancy you're looking into?
Well, they're asking for a 1,600 square foot variance on a 2,600 square foot house. Now, on the face of it, this seems pretty easy to rule on because it's a rather substantial thing.
Well, the face of it, yeah, seemed like, well, this is crazy, but look, what
Right.
is, right?
So what we've heard that some people have been combining, like, there's stuff in the law about having a guest cottage
Right,
and a studio.
right.
And so, like, some people say, well, you combine the two and have a 2,000 square foot building. And that just seems to be really against the spirit of the law, what's going on here. We just wanted to look into that a little further. There seems to be some ambiguities in this law, and we want to have somebody read through to kind of get an understanding what's going on here, because we'd hate to
But
just.
wouldn't that count as two dwellings or two structures? And if you're building a studio, which is not supposed to be a livable space, I
Mhm.
thought, the studio, you can't have essentially a shower in it or a kitchen.
You can't have
And
a
if you
kitchen,
build-
right?
Right. But then isn't that defined as a separate structure, as a accessory cottage?
Yes,
Right. So if they're combining it, that doesn't seem to be up to snuff.
We agree.
right. But
I'm not questioning. I'm just
No.
trying to understand it verbally. So to
right,
speak.
so are we.
Yeah.
Because it's a thing we haven't really had a problem with, but we seem to be, with the amount of money coming into town now, people are just doing kind of creative get-arounds on some of the spirits of the law we have here, and we're trying to establish, like, is it okay to have 1,000-foot studio and 1,000-foot guest house? You can have 10 accessory buildings, but that's, I think we're talking about sheds and, a couple of sheds, a studio, a garage. So we want to see and some people, if you're combining a studio and a guest house and a garage, you could typically have a 3,000 square foot building,
And
so
does this particular case meet the setbacks, or they need a variance for the setbacks as well?
well, theirs is actually simple. That 1,600 square foot variance on a 2,600 square foot house seems at its face an easy one to rule on. But we kind of wanted to just hold off on it before, just because we heard that they're combining buildings, that there seems to be some get-arounds going around the town. We'd like to see if we can put some verbiage in that would preclude people from doing something that really shouldn't be done with the law. So if somebody says, okay, we're
Like
just
they did
combining.
the Bearsville Flats, they combine the buildings. Yeah, I've seen a couple houses like that. Sure.
Yeah. So we just kind of want to get, and if it is something that's what it is, then we need to pass something on to the town, maybe to look into it, because we are going through rezoning issues in that. So we would like to just take a good look at this, because it happens a lot with laws and codes. It just gets layered after a while, where you write one thing and you write a second thing, but the second thing doesn't address certain things that the first one does, and then you get a third thing, and that contradicts things for the first and second. It happens quite often.
Right. So what are you waiting to hear back from on the
Well, we're
discussion?
gonna pass on to Rod Butterfast, our particular counsel, and he said,
Yeah.
give us what we have, and he wants to look through the law himself to see what he's found in regards to this. So
he'll give us some sort of determination at some
yeah, he'll
point.
give us some counsel on it, so we can make a determination possibly. So we're gonna get it to him tomorrow. He'll probably have it definitely before next meeting. So I think we can move this
Okay.
forward.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Thanks for asking, Martin. I appreciate it. Helps to, because it does get kind of convoluted, some of this stuff, and
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to, understand the process. So
yeah, and we're seeing things now, with the Airbnbs and with a lot of money coming into town, that there's things being done that have never really been done before.
yeah.
So and a lot of it's just coming to us. So, or
It's a
not
brave
even
new
coming to us.
world.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed in a short amount of time. So All right, I'd like to recess case 2128. I have a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Are there any other cases anybody wishes to discuss at this time? One other one I'll just bring up quickly, just for informational purposes too. Case 2202, do I have a second to open this? Okay. It's Willow Woods Holding. That was one of the special use permit in the light industrial. When I spoke to Rod today, basically giving a special use permit, what they want to do is basically, he says that's illegal to have a residence, a rental residence. Now, the funny thing is that the STRs were allowed in a light industrial. They were approved. You can get a permit for an STR in a light industrial district, but you can't have a house, you can't have a residence, and there's nothing saying that you can have a long-term rental. You can
Well,
only have
just to
short-term
clarify,
rentals.
they didn't, as far as I'm concerned, have any regulations on specific zoning areas and STRs. They did not classify what zoning areas could or could not have STRs, and it was an oversight, in my opinion.
Right, and because they've allowed it, it's actually in the chart.
Did. No, they did.
In
They
the
didn't
chart.
allow, they didn't allow it in the floodway. That's the one place they did not allow short-term rentals, if you guys remember the floodway.
Right.
Yeah.
But they did, it's right in the chart and the use records on the code where you're allowed to have an STR. It's right in the chart in a light industrial area. But they're thinking of revisiting that, the town, I think, and instead of giving an illegal ruling, if the town's going to change looking to change the zoning, then I think that's the route that one's going to have to go.
Okay.
Wasn't that house grandfathered in because it was a residence to begin with?
Yeah, but once you stop something, you lose the usage.
When you have a non-conforming use, when you discontinue it, you lose that right. But Mark, but Gordon, I mean, on process, not specifically about this case, she's looking for a use variance. Why can we not grant a use variance in a case like that? Why? I understand it's not a special use permit. It's a use variance.
Well, I think he said for a use variance, you can't just say, well, I'm not making as much money as I used to. You have to basically say that cannot be done, what that place is zoned for. That's what.
Is this the case that Peter Canteen wrote the letter about?
Yes.
Did they buy that before COVID? Because the whole basis of the argument was because of COVID impact, financial impact.
Right.
Was that purchased before COVID?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
So
But-
really, it's not.
In 2016, it was bought.
Well, Rob was just emphatic that you have to basically be on a shadow of a doubt. It's not like, well, I'm not making as much money as I used to, or like having trouble renting it. It's basically, it cannot be used for that purpose anymore.
The economic hardship,
Yeah,
what they're trying to say is the case for the change of use.
Correct.
right. But, and I said that to Rob, but he was just very, we don't have to listen to our lawyer, but, he was very emphatic about it. And I spoke with Bill McKenna, they're talking about changing the zoning anyway, because, at the time they were trying to preserve light industrial because that meant something. And it doesn't mean as much anymore. What they use for light industrial to the town, it's just not as important as it once was thought to be. It actually never really panned out all that much.
I mean, there's such a shortage of housing, and what she's trying to do is offer
Right.
more housing.
Yeah,
And it's
and
not like
you can have a short-term rental, but we can't have a long-term rental, which is, we would like the exact opposite, like no short-term rentals, but you could have a long-term rental. I mean, you can have it in the hamlet, you can have it above the stores, but in the light industrial, no. So it's an illegal use, and to permit it, we're permitting an illegal use.
Where are
Is
the
this-
boundaries for that light industrial? Do we know?
What's that?
Where are the boundaries for that light industrial? Because it
No,
seems-
you'd have to look on the map. It's delineated on the zoning maps.
3 houses away, you have the rentals that's part of the Bearsville complex, which are houses that are rented out.
I know.
They're pre-existing. They're pre-existing to the zoning law, and they've always been rented. That's the
Yeah.
difference.
Right.
Is the property occupied right now? Do we know? As
It doesn't look like it. I drove by and looked at it. It looked pretty overgrown.
But it hasn't been stated on the record whether or not there's any occupants in there or currently. And so has it ever been occupied since the owners, the applicants have purchased it?
Yeah.
Or is
Yes,
it,
because she said she took the kitchen, the stove out. Because she
Okay.
had.
and so what, and the application, I'm just trying to catch up and I won't take.
No, this is
everything.
good. No, yeah.
Is they're trying to do a live work situation where there's an apartment above a studio office space.
Actually,
essentially?
just showing the apartment on the first floor, correct?
Okay. And they've indicated that they're going to rent it as a STR?
No, it's a long-term rental. If it was an
Long-term.
SDR, we could approve it. So I don't know. Maybe she'll just have to give a bunch of short-term rentals to the same person.
So you're saying in a light industrial zoning, the mixed use buildings are not permitted?
Right, yeah, like in the Hamlet, yeah. But
Unless
you can
they
have a
got-
short-term, but you can have a short-term rental now. You can't have
Right.
any other
Right,
residential
but
use,
that,
yeah.
I mean, like we said, I think that's an oversight, but, so the variance they're requesting is to have a use variance, right? I guess I'm going back to that as well
Yeah.
as too, like, can we, since, we are trying to promote more long-term housing in this town, why wouldn't the board be able to grant a use variance?
Well, I think we were all leaning in that direction, but then I told you what Rod said to me. And,
But I'm not following what Rod said, I guess.
well, he said that since it's not allowed, the only way, he said it's very, very pointed and it's very strict that he says it's not just like, well, I'm not making as much money. It said I can no longer use it as what it's intended, what it's zoned for. It cannot be used for that for whatever reason. You have to prove that it cannot be used for that for, and they're part of the way there. I don't know if we could accept that as a reason why, but
So the economic hardship is not, so what Rod is trying to say is that their economic hardship doesn't qualify
yeah.
per the
It's
standards.
almost nobody's economic hardship ever qualifies for a special use
Right,
permit.
well, right, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, isn't, is the board allowed to say that we think that a variance should be allowed despite the fact that they can't prove their economic hardship, being that we want to promote more affordable housing? I'm asking as a question. I don't know if
No,
that's
yeah, it's a good
the
question.
authority.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can do it. We'd have to think about the ramifications if we were to go ahead and do that.
Honestly, I'm not buying Peter Cantine's argument, and I'm not buying Rod Futterfast's argument. I
Okay,
guess.
so,
Oh, yeah.
so the standard for a use variance is very different from an area variance. And the law is really clear about how you have to prove certain points. And what Rod is saying, that what they've provided does not prove and does not meet the requirements for a use variance. An area variance, we have a lot of latitude, but for a use variance, it is very strict. So if we bend the rules for this use variance, the next person who comes along with some sort of, because I think all of us are, I'm not supposed to vote on this particular case, but, somebody comes along with an extremely onerous use in an area, and now we've allowed this one, we're kind of obligated to follow our precedent, because then it becomes arbitrary. We arbitrarily change the rules for this person, so thereby, why are we not changing the rules for the next person?
Yeah,
And I think that's what Rod is
especially when it's a
saying.
law, because we had people coming before us with, the zoning law is a law, but it was something that was put on top of a town that was already existing, so it created a lot of problems. So,
Sure.
the residential uses and, so that we have the sheds that we need to put on the borders, and we need to adjust a lot of things because it's the cookie cutter, R3, R5, Hamlet doesn't quite fit. Now, when you have something like light industrial, that's a specific zoning, and then the usage that's allowed. Now,
Right,
so
I understand
everything we
that.
rule on is like you're allowed to have a shed, but you're just supposed to keep it back. So we're just squeezing a little bit here and there. So the
Right.
usage is more. It's like when some people came before us because they wanted to exceed the STR limit, the cap. They wanted us to give them, but we couldn't. We said, well, there's a law that has a cap. We're not, it'd be like, we can't increase speed limits, we can't increase the cap, and we can't change the usage. So they have
Right.
to say that this, so it's just, the criteria is just really strict. I mean, Rod did not pause when I mentioned it. This was like, boom, he came out with this. He was, oh no, that's an
Well,
illegal.
no,
And, yeah, just to give you an idea of how he responded,
No, and Jude, just so you realize, I understand
Yeah,
what you're saying, and I'm not questioning that
right.
there should be a variance that doesn't pertain to the existing regulations for use variance. So, and I read the letter from Peter Cantina, and I didn't think that it was really compelling to to meet the standards of economic hardship for that property. Obviously, if the property was bought in 2016, the COVID argument to me doesn't really have much weight. And I understand what Rod Futterfist is saying, and it's I guess what you're saying too, Gordon, maybe the light industrial zoning is a tad outdated for this, what we're dealing with now.
Is it the case that you cannot build a residence in a light industrial district?
Right, yes,
Is that the case?
yes.
Or does the light industrial district include everything, including housing, and allows?
It says it's not allowed. A residence is not allowed. It was, I had the chart up.
So
There's no like overlay.
residences are excluded in the light industrial district. So
Correct.
Unless they're pre-existing
Yeah.
to the law.
does that make sense?
No.
I mean, what you would think that you could have a light industrial thing, or you could have a house. Your choice.
It's already mixed anyway, so there should be an overlay.
I think
Yeah.
The house was pre-existing. The
Yes.
use of it was different, but that house was built in what, the 1900s, late 1800s?
But that's
It
we're
was-
talking about use,
So I think in the zoning law, what they were trying to do is they were trying to designate an area to allow for this.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I think that by doing that, you're creating a zone that hopefully will encourage that kind of development.
Yeah, and if we start putting houses in there
So-
isn't any room for the industry.
Right.
So
The
we
house
need
is
room for our growing industrial complex.
Oh, we do. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so, but of course, they're looking at that now. So the town's looking to change it. So I think I'm gonna have more conversations with the supervisor about this to see what their intention is. And,
Rod
Yeah, the only
know
reason I
that-
bring up, the option is that, the conversation's bigger than this board is, facilitating long-term rentals for people. I mean, obviously affordable rentals, and there's no indication that this would be affordable to a lot of people, but once again, long-term rentals are long-term rentals, I guess.
And we are, and were you here for the talk last meeting with
Unfortunately, no, I was not in
yeah,
town.
they sat in and spoke about that, the committee that's working on the long
Yeah.
term, looking at this whole thing overall. And this is probably something they should be looking at too, and I guess they probably are, but maybe we'll make a note. to them.
We haven't looked at that. We
Oh,
haven't
yeah,
even
there's a
thought
man
about
on-
that.
No, so
Here's a-
it might be something to look at, because, I mean, are we really looking for industry anymore?
Well, I had no idea that housing would be excluded from a light industrial area. I would have thought you
Yeah.
could do everything less than light industrial in
But if
a,
you think about it, it would stop, if you put a bunch of houses in, then you can't put a warehouse in,
Or, I
Right.
mean, Simulates was in that light industrial district.
yeah.
Elm Ferrite was in that light industrial district. So they were trying to preserve the opportunity for those kinds of businesses.
And now the what's the finance companies in that light
Right,
industrial
right,
district?
right.
Yeah.
Can I say something? Was Rod aware that this house was a residence for many, many years?
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't.
I'm just asking a question. Was he aware that
Yeah,
this
I told him it
was?
was the house. I told him it was the house. I think he got the gist of it. And I said he was very emphatic about it, I've learned, Rod does this stuff,
The whole thing doesn't make sense to me. You're desperate for affordable housing.
Well,
This was always a house and,
because it was done in a different time. It was done when the town was looking to employ our children in Woodstock. This is before the Airbnb explosion, before the $650,000 raised ranches became a thing here in Woodstock. This was a whole different time. This is done in 1990. This is 30 over
I think it was in the 80s.
89. I think they kind of
It was going on for a while.
Well, 89 was when they actually it came into being. So whatever, it's almost 25 years ago.
I have one more question. So short-term rental in that house is allowed, correct?
35 years ago. But
A short-term
well,
rental.
yeah, but they're capped. So
But I know, but I'm just saying, I have a question or a thought. A short-term rental is allowed. So could the zoning board give a variance to have it be a long-term rental instead of a short-term rental? Because you've already got the short-term rental okay for that as a residence. So
Well,
it's going to be.
I made that aware to Rod, and he wasn't lost on him. We got into a discussion about short-term rentals because he hates them. Flat out hates them, and he made that very clear to me. So we did have a long discussion about it. I'm going to be talking to him again in a couple of days. So if there's anything you want me to ask him, shoot in an email and I'll run it by him again. But
To me, that would be the easy fix to it, that we give a variance to make a short-term rental a long-term rental.
yeah, but he's just emphatic about changing a use.
That's also a use, right? That's also a
Yeah.
use variance.
It's a use variance, no matter how we look at it, and they're just a tough thing for us to rule on in a positive, in a favorable way.
What is that expression? I can't remember it, but we have the housing board, the housing committee here last week talking about how desperate they are to find permanent housing. And here we have an opportunity and can't do anything about it.
Again, the town is looking at it, and this isn't, they're looking to change it anyway. So, and I don't think people are going to be railing against it, because I don't think anybody's living in the 80s anymore where they think that their kids are going to work in the local factories here. So just, yeah, I used to talk like that, but they,
True.
so
Yeah.
the reality is,
the kids are not going to live here. That's the conversation now.
oh, they'll live here, but they'll just stay home with their parents. So,
Right.
So, that's it. It's an interesting thing for sure. And I'm glad everybody stuck around for the conversation. So with that, I'd like to recess case 2202. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Anybody wish to discuss anything else at this point? Okay. With that, without,
Sorry,
Yeah.
just one thing I was gonna say.
Sure.
Thanks for taking the time to explain everything to me. I was just wanted to jump on a case with somebody.
good.
I had-
I was going to
I had
ask you if you wanted to. So,
I had asked Joe, and he said I could do one of his cases. He's not here tonight, so I'm not sure if that's
the Saltzman case?
whichever. I think he has two, so one of the two. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the other one's the Shapiro one, and that's, you could even come on board with it. But I guess the Saltzman one's pretty fresh, so if you want to work on
Whichever
that.
one's fresher, sure.
Yeah, and I think Jude, you took a look at that too recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I've talked to Joe a little bit about it.
Yeah, so yeah, would you like to, maybe you can even discuss, Martin, what you're seeing, and yeah, it'd be great.
Martin, Jude and I talked about going there next week if you want to come with us
No.
to have a look at it.
No,
Yeah, I could meet you
We
out
only
there.
have two.
Yeah, you can only have two.
Oh, okay, sorry. Never
Where?
mind.
That's fine.
Yeah, because it's quorum otherwise.
And Martin, if you wanted big plans on that, I've got them all in the office and I can leave one outside for you for whenever you want to pick them up if you want that too.
Sure. I'm assuming all this stuff was emailed as well. Salzman case?
Yes, but
Yeah.
the plans are really tiny, so I've got the large plans. They actually left a set of plans for each member in the office, so if you want to pick those up, I left it out for Jude yesterday or the day before.
Okay. Barbara Salzman. All right. I'll start looking.
2203 is the case number.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, great. So I'll tag along on that and, you know,
Great, good,
Um,
good. Good deal.
cool.
So, yeah, and then maybe get the next one, we'll get you to do one, give you when it comes along.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, great. So, with that, I guess we have our, just a little bit of homework, and then, without objection, I'd like to adjourn tonight's meeting. Okay. So be it.
See you guys.
All right, everybody.
Bye.
Everybody, have a good night. Thank you.
Okay, take
Sorry
care.
about the minutes again.
Oh, no.